Which international relationship do you value more, the US or China?
It's not one nor the other. The world is a complex and uncertain place. In terms of security, America has always been a reliable ally to Australia. A little-known fact, in 1942, when Darwin was bombed, 188 Japanese bombers overhead, 10 planes went up. I think 9 were shot down. All 10 were piloted by Americans. So I'm a student of history. When John Curtin, the great Labor leader in 1941, said we wanted to bring Australian troops home, that was a big break with the UK. But he looked to America. So I get the history. But I don't let history just dictate all of our future views. I'm loyal to the relationship. But that does not therefore mean that every perspective from Washington should be Canberra's perspective. I do not look at our relationship with China through one prism of strategic risk. Of course we want to maintain our national security, our cyber security, our national interests. But I tell you what, whatever this government has accomplished in the last 6 years in terms of economic growth has been written on the back of exports to North Asia and China. I think it is a great thing that we have so many Chinese Australians, so many people of Chinese ethnicity have joined their story to the Australian story. What you won't get from me is the crude oversimplification that somehow it's a bipolar world and you're for one and not the other. I have excellent relationships with China and I have excellent relationships on my many visits to the United States. But again, to finish what I said in the last answer, for me, foreign policy will be with an Australian accent. And what I mean by that is the first countries I will visit if I'm elected: New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, Indonesia. The best foreign policy security I can give future generations of Australia is create the best neighbours. We will be a conscientious international citizen if Labor is in government. We won't dismiss the Paris targets on climate change of 45%. We won't turn our back on taking action to help clean up the Pacific of the plastic waste. We won't cut $11 billion out of foreign aid like the current government. We'll be conscientious. We'll want to extend our trade relationships. We'll want to deepen our cultural ties. But you ask China or America? In Australia, we're smart enough to work with all of them to Australia's long-term interest if we behave in a smart and respectful fashion.
OK, briefly, Paul Keating obviously has a clear preference for China. Did he discuss with you his fears about the intelligence chiefs twisting the policy decisions on China?
One of the things which you won't I think Paul Keating is a great man. And so do you.
Did he share with you those comments before he made them publicly?
He did a 20-minute interview, which 18 minutes of it was so uncontroversial, it didn't run in the media. He made a comment about our spy chiefs. I don't share that particular view with him. No, I don't. I think our security agencies are very professional, so I don't share that view with him.
Has he? But I ask you, had he made that claim to you before?
He didn't tell me he was going to do that particular press conference. But you know what? He's an elder statesman of Australian politics. He's a grown-up. And in my party, you're allowed to have an opinion.
OK, Scott Morrison, by the way, today has demanded that you disown Paul Keating and distance yourself from his remarks.
No, not a hope in Hades that I'm going to disown Paul Keating. But on that particular view, I don't agree with him. Don't these current government ministers, don't they dumb politics down to, you know, black and white? Paul Keating was a great treasurer of Australia and a great Prime Minister. Well, he probably did a better job than the person who interjected, I'll give him that. But the point about it is, he's allowed to have a view. It's not the end of the world. I tell you, I set a test for Mr Morrison. Not that he's here to, you know, hear it, but maybe someone will tell him. Tell him this: why don't you get your last predecessors to turn up to your launch? Malcolm Turnbull and Tony Abbott. Let's see how you go doing that much bit of unity.